the evaluation process, and of course the practical steps for submitting your applications. All the things that we are going to talk about are available on the guidelines that are published on the iCOSHELLs website. So here's our plan for this hour, and the presenters that we are going to talk about these things that are Eric Sindoja and Raquel Maestu. And well, if you want to shortly introduce yourself, it's yours. I don't know if Eric or Raquel. That's for everyone.
I can start. Thank you. My name is Eric Sindoja. I'm a senior scientist at Research Institutes of Sweden and one of the co-coordinators for the project iCOSHELLs. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Raquel Maestu. I work with my colleague Mar in Zabal Innovation Consulting, also as project manager, and we are working in this iCOSHELLs project, managing the Cascade Funding open call. Thanks.
Thank you. And then the Q&A section will be supported by our Living Lab leaders. So they are also here. And as you can see, we will start with a brief introduction to the iCOSHELLs project. Then we will look at the open call and where it fits in the project. Then we will go through each Living Lab and their specific challenges. And finally, we will cover the application and evaluation process with this question and answer session at the end of the webinar. So let's get started with a quick overview of the project. So Eric, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. So to give just a brief overview of what the project iCOSHELLs is about. So the iCOSHELLs is, we started about 15 months ago. We're a little bit into the second year. The project is about co-creating innovative solutions to restore soil health. And we'll talk more about the co-creation is happening through the living labs, so that's a lot of what the whole project is about creating these living labs to deal specifically with restoration of soil health across Europe. So it's a Horizon Europe project. We have it's a large partnership. We have about 39, almost 40 partners, plus affiliated partners. We're across 8 countries, and the project is currently on schedule for a 4-year duration. Next slide. Here's, of course, we're a very large partnership. We have partners, a large partnership in the work packages, but also in the living labs, since we have 6 living labs established in iCOSHELLs. We'll get to that in the next slide. So iCOSHELL, we decided in creating the project iCOSHELLs, as I said, we have 6 living labs that we're creating, which we'll get to a little bit more specifically. But the theme about these living labs is that we're going to focus on addressing 3 key objectives of the mission soil. And one is reducing soil pollution, promoting restoration. The second objective is to improve soil structure and soil biodiversity. And then we're also working to increase soil literacy among society. We have 6 living labs established. We have one in the Basque Country on the Spanish-French border on the Atlantic coast. We have a Bulgarian living lab, Greece, Italy, Spain, and in Sweden. Now the living lab is supposed to be it's a concept, a new concept to try to address challenges by bringing together a broad stakeholder group to co-design and test solutions for improving soil health instead of the typical top-down research structure where a scientist comes with an idea and goes out and tests it in the field and then says, this works, so try to use it. So next slide.
Yeah, so thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
And yeah, so now let's talk about the open code and the Living Labs challenges. So the code, as you may know, it's a key part of our methodology, of the project methodology, because it allows new innovators, as many of you here today, to join the Living Labs and contribute the new prototypes and ideas that can be tested under the real condition that it's in, as Eric mentioned, the Living Lab core activities. So your solutions will become part of a co-creation process, and together we will evaluate its impact on soil health. So as you know that the open call, it's situated in the second phase of the full project methodology. So let's talk about the general aspects of the open call, the funding, and how this funding will be or the payments will be structured. So general aspect, and we mentioned you will receive this financial support for your innovations to be developed. Also the access to the Living Lab you will work on and on other Living Labs for collaboration. Then you will find guidance, technical and scientific. You will have this policy impact and visibility, and that will allow you to build stronger networks for future opportunities. So about funding, the total open call budget is 900,000 euros, and each Living Lab will select at least two projects. And each applicant can receive up to 75,000 in lump sum funding. This means that 100% of the agreed budget will be covered, so you don't need to co-finance anything, any activity that you will develop in your project. And while the payment structure is also very straightforward, you will receive 60% of the funding after the kickoff meeting with the Living Labs and the project, and then the remaining 40% after completing the second iteration and the final evaluation. So, as Eric already introduced, we have 6 Living Labs, and each one represents very different soils, climates, agricultural and activity systems, and challenges. So it is important that your prototype aligns with the Living Lab you choose. So, we have these 6 Living Labs, one in peri-urban areas, post-industrial areas, some of them focus on agriculture. So each one has their own priorities and characteristics. So for the open call, it's very important to know what is a prototype. That it's the main thing that we are looking for here. So in iCOSHELLs, the prototype is a practice, technology, or process that is designed to tackle a real soil health challenge. It is not expected to be polished or commercial ready or already, that it's already sold, because the idea is to test it, to improve it, and then validate it within the Living Lab team. So when it demonstrates measurable improvements, it will become a recognized solution of the project. And we divided the prototypes in 3 categories. The first one, that is soil intervention, are direct actions such as soil amendments, tillage practices, irrigation strategies, biosolutions. And then the second category, category B, it's focused on soil literacy, covering activities in education, communication, citizen science, participatory monitoring. And then the last category, it's focused on this monitoring and decision support prototypes. that are tools like sensors, like UAV imaging, drones imaging, remote sensing, artificial intelligence tools. So you can submit your prototype in one only category, or maybe a combination of two of them that will combine these categories that often increase the impact of your proposal. That we will talk it later, because each Living Lab has their explanation for each category or combination of them. So next slides, we'll talk about each Living Labs, but we want to make sure that you understand that it's important to remember that applicants must present a prototype aligned with this one of the categories, and to one or more of its Living Lab scope and objectives. So each proposal must describe how the prototype or innovation directly addresses at least one of the Living Lab's objectives that are listed in their scope, also in the guidelines, and must include a clear plan for testing, monitoring, and data collection for assessing the impact on soil health. So all the prototype described in the guides and indicated in the following slides are examples. So do not consider this example as something that you must cover. They're example of prototypes that we expect you to have, but just take this as ideas and examples of them. And just reminding that the Living Labs are ordered as they appear in the guides for applicants. So we will start with the Swedish Living Lab, that it is focused on improving soil structure, enhancing soil biodiversity, reducing nutrient surpluses, and strengthening real-time monitoring. And they welcome prototypes such as soil amendments, smart drainage, biostimulants, disease suppression practices, and any advanced or low-cost monitoring tool. As you can see, they describe two categories here for prototypes. Then we move to the Southeastern Spain Soil Health Living Lab, that is the Green Nomad Living Lab. And it works in coastal Mediterranean soils with high salinity. So their needs include more sustainable input uses, salinity and sodicity reduction, pest minimization, improvement of soil carbon and structure, and broad stakeholder participation. And their prototype examples include different plant varieties, tillage solution, phytoremediation, inoculants, or digital campaigns and community projects. Then the next one is the Vast Living Lab, and it focuses on degraded urban and peri-urban soils, and their key needs are soil degradation solutions, circular nature-based practices, and community soil awareness and soil restoration evaluation with non-invasive evaluation approaches. And their prototypes include bioherbicides, organic amendments, citizen science tools, and this Living Lab, for example, has these integrated prototypes with combinations such as acoustic monitoring of biochar impacts, for example. Then the Greek Mine Soil Health Living Lab, it's located in post-mining areas in Western Macedonia, in Greece, with contaminated soils. So their needs include soil restoration, pollution reduction, ecological recovery, and metal recovery like nickel or chromium. And they welcome these categories also with integrated prototypes and like phytoremediation, biomass recovery, soil amendments, and low-cost sensor systems. Then moving on to the Italian Soil Health Living Lab, it is focused, well, it's across contrasting agricultural landscapes located in northern Italy, And the priorities are drone robotics monitoring, soil health innovations, precision irrigation, low input soil practices, and real-time data decision making. And examples of the prototypes they are looking for, there are these 3 categories, also integrated ones with these low input farming strategies, digital platforms or tools, or interactive installations, the irrigation sensor tools, or integrated this remediation with monitoring, or farming with literacy activities. And then the 6th living lab that is located in Bulgaria, in vineyards, and it's focused on reducing soil erosion, capturing carbon, reducing pollution, and stimulating soil biota activity. And examples of prototypes include specialized tillage machines, irrigation solutions, soil cover mixers, biosolutions, and artificial intelligence-based fertigation tools. Also, they have included these integrated prototypes as digital monitoring with irrigation optimization. So now I will give the floor to Raquel Maeztu, who will explain how to apply to the open call. So please, Raquel.
Thank you, Mar. Yes, as you say, we are going to talk now about the key points that you need to keep in mind during the proposal preparation process. So in the next slide, you can see that the most important thing is that you read carefully the call guidelines. Why? Because this document includes all the information about the participation requirements in the open call and details each stage of the process. So here you can see that, as well as in English, you can also find the translated version of these guidelines in all the consortium language: Swedish, Spanish, Italian, Greek, and Bulgarian. And here you can find the links to these documents that are already available on the Open Call webpage. So next step, one is, in this slide, you can see a summary of the content of these guidelines. You can find the type of entities that can be eligible in this open call. Also important, which activities can be funded by each living lab. As Mar has mentioned, the guidelines include some examples of the projects that can be funded, but it's not an exhaustive list. Any project that fits into one of the prototype categories and it's also aligned with the scope of the living labs you want to apply to can be funded. And how you should explain this? There is a specific section in the proposal description template that is the added value of your prototype, where you should explain why you are aligned with the living lab scope and prototypes categories. Okay. Also, the guidelines defines the cost categories that can be funded, that you can declare in your project budget. Also, there are some explanation about how to proceed with multiple submission, but we will explain later. Also, there are some topics related with the avoid of conflict of interest with the iCOSHELL consortium. Also, you will see how to submit your proposal through the Open Call webpage with using the official templates, and also it is included the Open Call deadlines that we will see also later in this presentation. So once you have all this information, all the information is clear after reading the guidelines, you have to decide which living lab you want to apply to, as I have said, based on the best match between your proposal and the objectives of the living labs. So then, what you should do, considering the operational point of view, you will need to click in the OpenCall website, where you will find all the OpenCall documentation. You will have to download the template to define your project. Make sure to check the instructions on the first page of this document. And once you have completed this proposal description template, you will have to submit it through the application form. So in the next slide, we are going to see how this application system looks like. The first step of the first screen includes the proposal identification. You will have to define your proposal title, the acronym, and also to choose one of the living labs, that you want to apply to. Then some administrative data will be requested. Then you will find the section where you'll have to upload your project description, the proposal template, but as a PDF. And finally, there are a series of questions that you'll need to answer. All the fields are mandatory, so if something is missing, the system won't let you move forward, okay? And also another question, another topic to keep in mind. If you detect that when you define your proposal, you complete the proposal description and you submit it, you should be aware that it's possible to resubmit your proposal if you detect that some errors should be corrected. So if we detect that there are more than one version of the same project, we will only consider the latest version for the evaluation process, but it is not avoided to do more than one submission, okay? So then, once you have submitted your proposal and the call closes on February 4th, the evaluation process will begin. We will check and those that do, then we'll start with the evaluation process. Each proposal will be reviewed by 2 experts and they will have to reach a consensus on the final score. You can see here the criteria for the evaluation that is also included in the call guidelines, that each section of the proposal description will be scored between 0 and 5. The minimum total score is 15. And also keep in mind that the budget section counts 1.5. So it is important that you define a budget precise and coherent with the technical scope of your project, okay? So then with the consensus from these 2 experts, we will have the final scores. There will be a list of beneficiaries. And after the approval from the European Commission, these results of the OpenCall will be communicated to all participants, both successful and unsuccessful. And then also these results will be shared through the project channels, okay? So next step, to finalize, to summarize, here you can see the key dates of the OpenCalls. As I have mentioned, the call deadline is the 4th of February. Then the evaluation process will start, and we expect that we could communicate the results around March 2026. Between March and April, we will sign sub-grant agreements with the OpenCall beneficiaries. And around April-May, there will be this kickoff meeting where all the OpenCall beneficiaries could start with the project implementation. Okay. So finally, we want to encourage you to participate in this OpenCall. Here you can also find the link to the application system. Also remember this 4th of February, important to be aware that the closing, there will be also a closing hour at 2 o'clock European time. And now let's move to the question and answers part. Mar, yes.
Thank you, Raquel, for very well explained. Yeah, for this question and answer section, we wanted to leave, as you see, at least half an hour to cover all the possible questions that will arise during this session, and also the ones that we have been receiving during these last days in the dedicated mail address that we have. And just for you to know that we are gathering all questions, we will answer them, and we are also developing a document for these facts that will be available in the Open Call webpage. So as you can see, we included some of the questions that we have been receiving. Maybe some of you have raised these questions, so we can start with the first one. That, for example, this asking if a consortium is possible to participate in the open call, and in the guidelines we indicated that only one entity can submit the proposal, but in case the technical activities are not possible for you to cover them, another entities can be subcontracted. So there is only one entity that can submit the proposal, but then more than one entity can participate, but as the other entities should be as subcontractors. I don't know if Raquel or their partner wants to add anything related to this question. Yes, Adam, you have your...
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. On the budget, is it necessary to fill up all the 75,000 euros, or can it be in smaller amounts if we have a smaller project? Or
it can be less. Yeah, it's up to this quantity, but it's not mandatory to reach this number. It can be less if the project is smaller. Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, the budget should be aligned with the technical scope, so the evaluator will consider if this budget is precise with the activities that you are proposing. It's not mandatory to reach this 75,000 euros, but to define the budget according to the technical proposal.
As a follow-up question, on the validation, is it a positive thing with bigger projects, or does that not matter?
What do you mean with the bigger projects?
Let's, for argument's sake,
with the budget.
We have a project that maybe say 5,000 euros. Is that too small to be considered, or is it only valid on the actual bang for the buck, so to say?
I would say that there is not a minimum limit budget for this. If it is aligned with the Living Lab objectives, and they think that could be interested to be added in the Living Lab, it could be also funded.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yes, one.
Ali?
Yes. So my question is whether can we apply if we are living outside the European Union? Can we apply for this call? And secondly, as a supplement to this question, can we subcontract some scientists or some persons who are currently outside the European Union, and they can work with us for this project?
Okay, this question is related to the second question, that the eligibility and the countries that are eligible are the same. We are following the same rules as the European Commission for Horizon Europe projects. So if the country is listed as one of the eligible countries for a Horizon Europe project, then it will be eligible. The same with persons. If they are based on of an eligible country, they will be eligible for subcontracting.
Thank you.
Okay, then we have Raúl Ortega. I think you're muted.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Hello, good morning. I have a question. What is the maximum percentage of the budget that can be used for subcontracting? Is there a maximum or not?
No, there is not a maximum.
Okay, fine. Because I belong to the University of Almería. We are thinking of presenting a proposal, but we were thinking in joining a biotechnological company. So my first question was if it was possible to create a consortium between the university and a company, but you already replied that. So, but I think that we can continue subcontracting the company. So, but the percentage will be more or less the half. So that was my question about the percentage. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know if Raquel wants to add something
Yeah,
related to this question. Okay.
But in the same time, so sorry to interrupt, but Vladislav is talking here. I think in the instructions there was something related to up to 30% for the subcontractors. Am I right or not?
Hmm.
No, I would say that there's nothing specific about subcontracting. But no.
Raquel is checking, but as far as I remember, there is any detail regarding this. Yes. Okay.
Yes, sorry. We define a maximum of 30% of subcontracting. So Raúl, that you already asked about this, there is this limit of 30% of subcontracting cost. Okay, that could be covered.
30%.
Sorry. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Vladislav,
fine.
for noticing that.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Next, Helen.
Hello. I wanted to ask, are we allowed to apply for more than one living lab separately? So one company can choose more than one?
If they are different projects and one of them are focused on different living labs, yes. But that's just make sure that you won't go through this double funded option, that in case of that you will have twice funded, you won't be able to participate.
No, like in the end, maybe just one is chosen. But my idea is that if we feel that we fit into two living labs, like we can bring solutions to more than one, we are allowed to apply, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Dora?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. I think it would be really strengthening for prototype if you could test it in several places and in several countries. So I think this is really something that should be encouraged, but like transparent, of course, with the budget and everything. But I think that would be a very positive thing for the testing, for verification.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is also mentioned in the guidelines that the more you can cover, the higher score you will get. And Martin, well, Tora was one of our Living Labs leaders. The same for Bratislava. So yes, Martin, but it's other Living Lab leader.
It's regarding the last comment from Ellen. So the only issue I see, or this is something that needs to be considered in the budget about the sampling and travel, because the applicants are supposed to participate in the co-creation activities, and so this needs to be reflected, I guess, in the budget.
Sorry, so you mean like the budget should be separately for each living lab, because there will be like two applications, or we can do it in one?
Mar, I think they need to be separate application, right?
Yes.
And separate budgets there.
Mhm.
But I think this comment that Martin was making is that, well, it's quite clear in the instructions also that you will need to participate in several meetings and collaborate, because you will be a part of the project if you win the proposal. So this means that in the budget you need to be very clear that you have enough budget to participate, to put time, invest time in the collaboration in the project.
Okay. Yes. Exactly. Okay. Thank you for your contributions. And if anyone has any hand raised, we can continue with these questions on the screen. Can an entity which has collaborated with any iCOSHELLs beneficiary apply? Yeah, the main condition is that they are not part of any beneficiary of the iCOSHELLs project. But if they have been collaborating in this subcontracting form, like for punctual parts of punctual activities, and they have not any team members that are part of the beneficiaries of iCOSHELLs project, then they can apply. So yeah, Vladislav.
Yeah, just very short clarification, Mar. I think this is a very relevant question also because some of the applicants may need certain details or certain I don't know, further clarification when they fill in the application forms. So if they want to approach the leaders of the Living Lab, for instance, I don't know, the leader of the Basque Living Lab or Bulgarian Living Lab or whatever, I assume that they can do it just for the sake of clarification of some of the questions or some of the unclear, let's say, points in the application form. This is not a conflict of interest because they could be like private companies that are applying and following all the rules. But if they need additional information, they can consult us as the leaders of the Living Lab. Is it right or?
Yes, what we have done is this dedicated, unique mail address, and that are managed by Zavala as leaders of this open call. And the questions that are more focused on specific, more technical instead of administrative or eligibility, we are sending them to the Living Lab leaders. So that is the way of having these more structured communication ways, not directly to each Living Lab, as we would lose the traceability of all the communications. So any
Okay.
question related to specific Living Labs, our response you will be in copy of the response.
And
Okay,
also,
that's very
yes.
important for the applicants to understand that they can connect directly to you. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, and sorry, Mar, and also because this information, this question that are centralized through our email address are going to publish in the fax document. So all the entities that are interested in the open call have the same information. Okay.
Okay, then we can move on to the next one that has been already answered. Then the next one, that it's how can women-led ecological innovations be prioritized in the evaluation of iCOSHELLs pilot projects? We didn't include any extra points for women-led innovations, so they will be scored as with the same rules as any other innovators. We didn't have this special scoring system for women-led innovations. So no comments. We can go to the next one. That's about the intellectual property.
I'm not sure I understood this women-led innovations. I'm sorry. Can you please repeat it? I'm sorry about this.
It's okay. So we didn't specify any extra point or that will be prioritized. If a woman leads any innovations and lead the application form, let's say, we are not consider it as a priority for scoring the project.
I see. No extra
So
bonus
we
for
will-
being a woman and doing circular materials. Thank you very much for the clarification. Thank you.
We will. You're welcome. We will only consider the technical and the budget and the alignment with the Living Labs objectives and the budget alignment with the technical development, not who is leading the innovation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, yeah, moving on to the intellectual property for companies developing technologies associated with the project. This will be very well defined in the sub-grantees that will we sign with the winning applicants. And what's in general, the intellectual property will keep or will be remain with the applicant, with the one that will be developed. The project won't own the technology that the applicant will develop. This is in general rules of the generic sub-grantees. I don't know if Raquel has more detailed answer, but it's the generic one that the thing you develop, you will own the intellectual rights. So the property of your development will be yours. It's clear. Okay, so we can go to the next one, that asking if there will be a document where we can have a synthesis of the step on the talk. We understood of this question was referring to the presentation and that it will be available. Also, the recorded session it will be available on the OpenCall webpage together with the presentation. And if there is anything that can be understood by this question, I don't know if Raquel. And also, yeah, regarding the questions, as Raquel mentioned and we have mentioned, all of them are being gathered, and the facts document will be also available on the OpenCall webpage. So everyone that wants to apply will have the same information. And okay, if no comments, we can go to the next one. That is this primarily for farmers who want to apply, or is it for scientists to apply? Both of them are very welcome to apply. Just as we mentioned, if they cannot develop the technology part alone, they can subcontract one or another. But the eligibility rules also describes which entities or kind of entity are available to apply. Yes, Tora?
I would just like to say that also technical providers, but I mean, it's better to read the instructions for this.
Exactly.
But it's very open for
yeah,
different
we have companies, we have technology developers, farmers, scientists, universities. So yeah, for this question and for almost all questions, just go through the guidelines because everything is detailed and explained. So if no, okay, Raul, you have the.
Okay, I have a question. I understand that the new prototypes, the new management system, etc., must be developed in the already existing living labs. So there is no need to search for new areas to develop these new experiments. And so in that case, I think that we will need to coordinate experiments with the proposed in this new open call with already experiments that are the schedule, no, of these of these living labs, because there must be some room spaces, time, calendar, etc. I think it's a delicate point, no?
Yes, indeed. We have this part that the technological part should be or should demonstrate this not calendar, but a plan for developing all the tests that, as you mentioned, will be in the experimental site of its living lab. And maybe for that question, you can write to the general email address and we can forward these questions to specific living lab leaders, maybe for giving more details in respect to these questions. And of course, we will make them public in the fax document.
Okay.
Because there are like specific questions for experimental sites that each living lab has their own, let's say, yeah, their own plan or their own development process. So we can direct it to the living lab leader. I don't know if Raquel or any living lab leader has other ideas on this, but I think that's the best way to proceed.
Fine.
Okay, thank you for that important question. Okay, Prisemek.
I guess it's a little bit related to that last question regarding costs and working with the living labs, if chosen. How would you suggest doing the costs themselves if the living labs are providing support and facilitation and knowledge as well? What's actually offered and what would need to be budgeted for?
So you have to budget the technical part. I mean, the living lab won't develop anything. They will give you the space or all the knowledge, as you mentioned. So the other things like this experimental or monitoring plan, you should be able to provide it. Also, as Sora and Martin said, you will also need to consider that all meetings and these co-creation sessions that you will be part of, you should be able to cover those activities.
So the cost of researchers in the living labs, their time, what does that need to be budgeted for in the costs, or is that something that is offered through the lab?
No, the personnel cost, you mean? They are eligible in your proposal. So yeah, if you have personnel costs that should be included to develop this technology or experiments, yes, you should consider them.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's just the personnel from your organization, okay? If you are going to work with the living labs staff, and then they will provide that time considering the resources, okay? You don't have to consider the time that the living labs are going to dedicate in your project, just your personnel, okay, cost. Victor?
Hi, I wanted to ask you a question regarding does the innovative solution have to be applied on every single field of the corresponding living lab? Because I recall reading something similar in the guidelines, or can it be just a subset of the fields? I'm just asking for budgetary reasons because it might be over budget to apply it on every single field, depending on how big it is.
So I don't really understand what do you mean with. Will you repeat it?
So for example, because our innovative solution is a soil amendment, and in order to be tested in the living lab, does it have to be applied on all the fields that are included in the living lab, or a subset?
No. You
subset.
well, yeah, the living labs with you will decide in which sites of the living labs they are going to test it. In some cases, it is indicated that maybe it is a better evaluator if it could be implemented in more than one site, but it is not mandatory. In fact, you have the information from the living lab in the project website, but you don't know exactly the sites of each living lab. So it will be decided during the project implementation.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Cheryl?
Yeah, thanks. So I just wanted to sound off that there are some questions in the chat. And Victor, you're one of those that actually voiced your question. So thank you for that. But I think time is pretty short. So we just wanted to assure everyone that we will read the questions in the chat. I could be mistaken here. So Mar and Raquel, please correct me if I'm wrong. But you can, if you're interested in applying for this call, reach out to the Living Lab leads, reach out to Mar and Raquel directly, and ask your questions there too. There was one from Turkey, and that question was asking whether you can apply for calls outside of these countries. So the understanding is that this open call is for the 6 living labs, which have got designated countries. Turkey in itself, no problem, you can apply for any Horizon project and also outside. But for this specific call, it would be limited to the countries where the living labs are, because that's where you're going to apply your technology. And you're a free young researcher. Try also maybe to go through your institution, if that be the case. Yeah. So that's all that we will come back to you in your questions. Yeah, next question. Sorry. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Just for clarification, yeah, we had some questions that were raised some days ago. We wanted to go through them first, but of course we have the chat, and the ones that won't have time to be responded here, we are gathering them, and yeah, the answer will be available, of course. Thank you. And Francesca?
Thank you very much. Two questions. The first one is concern the ownership of the land. If I well understood, there is no issue with the ownership. I mean, it can be rented or it must be owned.
You mean if you are providing a land or your...
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, the plot of land no, has to be owned by the entity who apply to the call, or maybe the plot of the land is rented.
First of all, it is defined that your solution is going to be tested in at least in one of the living lab sites. So in principle, it's not necessary to provide a site. In case
additional. Okay.
If you want to work in any specific experimental site that you already have, or any collaborators that you have, then it should be located in the areas of the living labs. It's possible that I don't know, a German entity provides a site in Germany, and then you want to apply with to work with the Italian living lab. It should be located in Italy, in the regions of the Italian. Okay, but regarding the ownership, there's not any restriction. Martin, yes, maybe you want to. Sorry, Martin wants to add something related with this.
Yeah, I mean, this clarification you made, Raquel, is very important, because in some cases, for some prototypes, it is going to be challenging to apply in the existing experimental sites. So if the proposal is bringing a new experimental site within, obviously, the region, so I think this is I mean, the challenge is this, because they are providing the site and they can test the prototype in their site. And I was reading the document, and it says that it has to be tested in at least 2 of the existing experimental sites. So this needs to be also clarified, because you were saying, Raquel, only 1, but it is written that should be tested in at least 2.
It depends on the living lab, if I'm not wrong. No, in your case, it's at least in 2, but I think that in other living lab there is not any restrictions. Okay, so that's why you should consider the criteria for each living lab. Francesca, you say that you have 2 questions. Maybe this is the first one, no?
Thank you for remembering. Yeah, the second one is about the co-creation of the prototype. So we are going to propose a prototype, right? We describe it, how it works, how it should work, and so on, so on. And then during the 1 year left, I mean, if the project is approved, of course, all the living lab are going to work together again to validate the result or to make, I don't know, changes to the prototype if it doesn't work. So in a nutshell, my question is about this co-creation process. If you don't mind to explain to me what you mean exactly with the co-creation process.
I don't know if any technical living labs wants to provide any clarification. Otherwise, well, the thing is that you are going to work in the living labs that you are applying to. This co-creation will means that you are going to participate in all in your living labs meetings and also in the iCOSHELLs meetings. So this co-creation will enable you to implement those improvements that are detected during the project implementation. But with co-creation, it means that you are going to work together. I mean, you are defining the prototype that wants to be tested in the living lab, and then all the improvements could be improved with the knowledge from all the living labs. I don't know, maybe any technical ideas about this, the technical experts?
Look, I'm just taking the word here. Vladislav is talking, Raquel. The idea, Francesca, is to test different solutions, different prototypes, because we have chosen in the 6 living labs, we have different, first of all, pedoclimatic or agroecological conditions, and then we have different crops that we have chosen. So some solutions might work with different crops in different geographical locations, different agroecological locations. For instance, in Bulgaria, we'll be trying also, as in the Basque living lab, if I'm not wrong, to test the biochar or some solutions for increasing the biodiversity in certain crops, soils of the certain crops. So we can compare the solutions, but it doesn't mean that in this very short, limited time, like 1 or 2 years, we can have some, let's say, definitive conclusions about whether one prototype is working, the other one is not working. This is a testing process. This is a testing and validation process. If it doesn't work, we have to say why it doesn't work, and it should be done together with the farmers, the direct beneficiaries of these prototypes. So that's the rationale of the co-creation. the farmers will guide us from year to year, and hopefully after 3 years. Can you hear me? No.
Yes.
Yes, we can
Sometimes.
hear you, but we cannot see you. Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully in 3 years' time we'll be able to see which of these prototypes are prospective, are working, and report this to the Soil Observatory, to the Commission, and which of them needs more testing, more validation, etc., etc. So that's the rationale to work to co-create with the farmers. At least I think so.
Yes, well, Bratislav was right. These prototypes will be tested, and the co-creation parts are together with the farmers, with the land owners of the experimental sites. So this is to prove or to test if the prototypes that will be funded through this open call will be transformed into solutions that iCOSHELLs project will then communicate as a result of the project. This is like the main core of this open call, and how we want to develop these projects with you. But then, yeah, in the proposal you will need to explain which expected results you will have for your prototypes. So for iCOSHELLs to know which or what can be expected from you. And that's also explained in the guidelines. In the costs or technical part. I don't know if it's the guidelines or the template of the application, but in one of the documents is this part, it's explained. I don't know if Raquel wants to add anything.
There are just 2 more questions. Then I think that we could finalize after. No?
Exactly. Yeah, we can go with Rafael first.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just want to understand if my project is adequate to this call of iCOSHELLs. So we are a company that we build a technology to produce soil amendment. We are a prototyping stage. We have not tested on field with monitoring. So just to understand, we have the IP of our technology. And so I want to understand, we would make a partnership with the Living Lab. Well, then we would test this technology in co-creation to then get the results of the soil amendment on the field. So did I get it right? That's my question.
Yeah, well, for the first idea, I think it's okay, but you must consider the Living Lab you want to apply. See if this project that you want to develop fits with the Living Lab scope and their challenges and what they really need. And then you should provide a clear plan for this innovation to be tested. But yeah, with this general idea, I don't know if more technical expert wants to add or clarify anything, but at first glance for me it should be okay. But yeah, you need to know that you should provide all these details.
Yeah, and also you have mentioned that you have not tested your prototype in fields. At least you should, in the proposal description, there is a section to define the state of the art, to justify why your solutions are adequate to be tested in the living lab sites, okay? To know that it's not in a it's not a research project per se. I mean that you have any previous results that you think that your solution or your prototype is adequate or could be improved with the tested in the living lab sites.
Okay, we have a project prototype running, but we need to validate the impact on soil, and yeah, so I see this is a good way of doing it. Thank you for the answers.
Thank you. And okay, last question for today, Andrea.
Hi all, can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay, it's Andrea from Italy. So my question is, it's a little bit related to the previous one. So so my question is, how would you? I mean, the living labs, okay? They have, of course, they have their own priorities and they have their own focus. So somehow, I mean, we could propose something that is related to these kind of solutions that are listed a bit in the living labs, and this is clear. But my question is, how would you then choose the proposed solutions according to what is really of interest in terms of the European Commission and the current knowledge gaps in the literature? I mean, we know that literature, I mean, we have evidence regarding several farming practices and their effects on soil health, etc. So, I mean, there is a state of the art, right? And so how would you say, okay, this proposal is coming first because it answers different knowledge gaps that are clear and it's a real need for, you know, at the level of the, for instance, the European Commission decisions on the common agriculture policy and so on. So do you have a plan? I mean, what's your vision on the current real needs? For instance, I don't know, maybe there has been a lot of research regarding, I don't know, soil amendments, while there is nothing about, I don't know, something else, right? I don't know, organic mineral fertilizers. That's just one example, right? But so there's more need for someone proposing to test this solution rather than the other. So how are you planning to, you know, to be in the framework of what's really needed in terms of knowledge gaps and so on?
Okay, for that question, just technical ones, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we are not directly consider the current European Commission strategies or the filling the European Commission gaps, because we are now centered in this project. I mean, with this project, we want to cover this European Commission strategy of first reaching these 100 living labs, and then improving the soil health. These are our main goals, let's say, and these projects that will be funded with the open call should fit with the iCOSHELLs vision and gaps from its living lab, not going
that's clear. Yes.
Further and going through the European Commission strategies, let's say.
No, that's clear. That's clear. That's clear to me. Okay. Yes. Okay. But just to be okay, maybe I can just to be clear, maybe I can share a recent thing that came out from the literature in the European Commission about the farming practices. I share it in the chat. So it's an evidence library, right? That's somehow reporting the evidence and the various farming practices that are in place for soil health, for instance, but also for other outcomes. Maybe it's useful. Anyway, thank you so much.
Okay. If there is any extra question that has not been written in the chat or we have not covered, just you remember. We'll go with the next slide. Remember that we have this mail address for you to go directly and ask a question you may have. Also, we have the LinkedIn and the web page and website where we will upload and we will share any updates regarding the open call and the iCOSHELLs project. So I think we can close now the webinar. Just thank you very much. Thank you all for reaching and having this big interest in improving soil health and the interest in joining us in iCOSHELLs and Living Labs. So anything you need from us, just write us and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you very much. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.